We're joined right now by the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. 14th season as head coach. Led the Saints to their first Super Bowl win in team history. New Orleans is 10-2. They're in first in the NFC South. They're at Philadelphia on Sunday. He appears today courtesy of Zebra Technologies. We will get into that. Sean Payton is my guest. Sean, it has been a minute or two since we last spoke. How you doing, Sean? How's life for you right now?
I'm doing well, Jim. Thanks for having me on. We're getting ready here for the Eagles. It'll be the third game of our 3-game road trip. So we're game planning Tuesday. Players are out right now, and they come back tomorrow. We start practicing. Good
to hear it. It's good to hear your voice, too, Sean. Now, you're coming off a win over Atlanta where Taysom Hill was 27-37 for 232 yards. He had the first 2 touchdown passes of his career, Sean. He also had 14 carries for 83 yards. What do you make of how he played in his third straight start?
I think the second week in Denver was a little bit of an aberration in that we really didn't do much because of the way that game was. But I thought in this game I saw progress. I saw a lot, and I think specifically on third down. Our third down numbers were good. I mean, ultimately in this league, regardless of how mobile you are, teams will force you on third down or on any down for that matter if they want to stay in the pocket, and you're going to have to make plays there to be successful. And he did that for us Sunday in Atlanta. His third down numbers were great. He converted some long yardage situations, and yet there's a handful of things when the game's over you're critical of and you want to clean up. But it was good to see.
Sean Payton's joining us, just so we're clear on those numbers. There was a stretch where he completed 10 straight passes on third down. He converted 8 of them for first downs. I mean, you touched on this, but bottom line what does that tell you about where he is as a quarterback right now?
Well, he's getting better, and so the thing you always two things go through your mind as a coach is, all right, how do we continue to help in that process? How do we continue to help him do the things that he does well and put him in the best positions possible to have that success, number one. And then number 2 is, man, where's the ceiling at? You know, and you hope you don't see it. You hope you're continuing to see progress and growth, and we have, and that's encouraging because, you know, we've asked this player to do so many things prior to becoming a starting quarterback. We've asked him, you know, to be a 4-core special teams player. We've asked him to play, you know, in a receiving mode as an F tight end or F receiver. He's done pretty much everything, and now it's a much different role when it comes to the week, the preparation, and all the nuances. And so it's our job to look at how do we make that transition smooth and how do we make it successful.
We're talking to Saints head coach Sean Payton. So if you bottom line this, obviously, Sean, you're looking forward to getting Drew Brees back. But based on what you have seen, has Taysom Hill proven to you that he can be a starter in the NFL quarterback?
Yeah, I listen, we're seeing it right now. And the good news is we're not ready to say, hey, this is where I think we're seeing growth immediately. And we feel like, I've said this already a few times, we feel like Drew's replacement's in the building. Jameis Winston came to us this year in the offseason. He had a fantastic training camp. He filled in when Drew got hurt earlier in the year. That was kind of the plan as we approached the season, that, you know, Jameis was going to be coming off the bench and playing in the event there was an injury because of the amount of work that Taysom was taking in some of the other areas. So I think those guys are going to both have plenty of opportunities to prove themselves. Right now, though, we're seeing Taysom. We're seeing the most important thing is win, and that's I keep always, you know, we as the staff keep reiterating to these guys, your job is to win and to win and to win again, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, I want to get to that if I can in a second, because that's what you keep doing despite whatever adversity that team has faced, and guys that have gone down, you just keep finding ways to win. Sean, what about Drew Brees? What is your sense as to a time frame for his return?
Well, I think it's a great question. This is the first week he's eligible to come off reserve injured, so he's been on for 3 weeks now. It's not something that you can just look at and say, you know what, it's 1 week away. I think there's a little bit more day-to-day with how it feels when he throws. When you're dealing with the soft tissues around the rib cage, certainly there's pain when you're throwing, when you're turning your torso. So hopefully it's sooner than later, and yet there's no exact time frame on it. We discussed it yesterday. He's making progress. I saw him this morning in the building. We'll kind of see how this week progresses.
Sean, is there any sense, he's been around the game so long, you know how badly he wants to be out there, and he certainly wants to do what's best for the team, but you know how much pride he has, how competitive he is. Is there any sense of having to protect the player from himself because you know how badly he wants to be out there?
Yeah, always. Look, I'll never forget, and again, sometimes it might be something that I've not taken for granted, but we've been together for so long. And, here it was this season for the first time in game coming out of the locker room at halftime where he said to me, hey, I got to talk to you. And I looked at him. I thought, what's he want to talk to me about? It was serious. And he said, I can't go back out there. And at that moment, I knew it was serious and it was bothering him just because of his competitive nature. And I know how much that bothered him that he couldn't. But he'll be smart. He's been magnificent around these guys in this role right now while he's getting better, and he'll be smart because he understands how important it is for the team.
Sean Payton's joining us today on behalf of Zebra Technologies. I'm going to ask you about that, Sean, in one moment. Really quickly, I want to ask you this. Taysom Hill said that you recently had baskets of cheese placed in the locker room. What was the thinking behind that move? What did you want them to take away from that?
Well, number one, it was near Thanksgiving. I figured that after they were finished with this message, they could bring something home to their families. But no, you get to play in these games, and you have some success, and you have some more success, and then pretty soon, if you're not careful, you just think it's part of the deal, and it comes your way each week. When really each week you've got to win during the week, and you've got to find a way on Wednesday and Thursday to outperform or outpractice your opponent, outprepare your opponent, and as that takes place, and you begin to hear, read, and see, especially this time of the year, postseason, all of that. Don't lose track of, and don't get caught up in the outside stuff. Really keep it week to week, because in our league, we see it. Last night we had two great games. We weren't able to see much of them, but there's fantastic players on every team. And so it's just a periodic reminder of the process and of the preparation and what wins.
We're talking to Sean Payton. So, Sean, you are working with Zebra Technologies. Lay that out for me. Exactly what is that all about?
Well, it's simple. They're the company that barcodes all of our products. When we go to the grocery store, Whole Foods or whatever, Target, any store, and they scan any product, and you get a price on it. Those scans provide inventory information for the not only the consumer but the stores. And our league is a partner with Zebra, so all the next gen stats that you get. When you hear that term, he traveled 22 miles per hour according to next-gen stats, or this personnel group's on the field according to next-gen stats, that's because each player is essentially wearing a couple barcodes in their shoulder pads. And so as soon as you mark a field, like an NFL field, which all 32 of our fields are marked, anyone who's wearing a tracking device, which is every NFL player, the information's gathered and computed. The tracking device is also in the football, so we can see how fast the ball is going. We can actually see where the ball goes through the uprights. And in turn, it gives you more information, miles per hour. It helps us during training camp when we're looking at soft tissue injuries and trying to reduce, how long the guy's been on his feet. So that's the next-gen stats info that you get. And I think you're going to continue to see our league use it more and more. When we look at spotting the ball with, the 10-yard chain, or the punt that goes out of bounds on the sideline that we randomly kind of select that this is where we think it went out. We kind of have that ability now to be more exact.
And if you have that technology, why would you not use that? Of course, it's at your disposal.
I think we're in the middle of it. I think we're already using some of it, and it won't be long before, how in the NBA you shoot the ball and you see the back of the score, the back of the board light up when the clock expires, and it allows you to actually see, is the ball off my finger or not, relative to whether the shot counts. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, of course.
Yeah, and so, look, I don't think it's long before there's a light in the end zone that lights up if the tip of that brown ball crosses the plane of the goal line, and that's going to allow us to see quicker, is a knee, elbow, or part of the body down or not. Because there's I mean, it's tough, I think, especially with today's speed of the game, to capture all of that, and I think that's the direction it's going.
Talking to Sean Payton. And Sean, really quickly, I think sometimes once in a while on your Twitter feed, you'll diagram a play, and it's fascinating. And then sometimes I'll see you, I think it's you, I hope it's you, reach for your phone and maybe respond to something. How are you approaching your Twitter game and your feed?
I'm not on it often. COVID, I tell you what, COVID, off season, man, I think everyone was in their homes. And so there were a few fans drawing up some plays, and there was, I think, a discussion or something that had arisen relative to a play. And I chimed in and then drew a few, and we had some fun with it. And then for the most part, it's generally, for me, it's generally, a retweet of something that I see or something kid related with either my children. But then every once in a while, there'll be something you hear or see, and you're like, and I can't help myself. But for the most part, it's especially in season, it's hard to stay on. Some lady this week tweeted, though, we've got a practice coach on ball security. And when she said that, it was like right when we were discussing, or I was thinking about this topic, because look, late in our game, we had the ball on the ground that very easily could have become Atlanta's ball, and I just simply tweeted back, "You're preaching to the choir."
Right, perfect. Sean Payton, the head coach of the Saints.